frequencies open. Welcome back to Trek Retrek here on Geek the F Out. I am Captain Johnny.
I'm Ensign Kayla.
And we are back this week to talk about episode 31, Who Mourns for Adonais?
I don't know. Who mourns for Adonais?
We'll
I don't even
find
know
out.
who the Adonis is. And I've already broken the 5-minute rule.
Maybe I'll start bleeping.
Should we start
things.
over?
No, I'll put a censored bleep in there.
I know. I'm sorry. I swore. I'm sorry.
If you haven't seen us before, the concept is when we started this, I'd watched all of Star Trek. Kayla had only seen the Chris Pine movies. Now she's seen the first season. So every episode we watch, I've seen it before. And Strange New Worlds. I've seen it before. She hasn't. And we're going to talk about it. That's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
thanks for joining us.
Indeed. TVGuide.com says, the Enterprise encounters the Greek god Apollo, who desires the crew to remain on his planet and worship him. Also, he wishes to take a crewman for his wife. Also.
I love the also. That's funny. That's it.
That's it.
Okay. Just checking.
Yep.
Shall we get into it?
We shall.
So we start off with Scotty asks Carolyn for coffee together, and Bones is like, I don't like this that's going on. I'm like, someone's jealous.
I was like, what the I literally wrote down WTF Bones. That was weird. It was just a weird conversation. He's like,
I feel like
she's gonna find someone and then she's gonna leave the ship and she's not gonna be here anymore. And Kirk's like, it's not like I'm losing a crewman. Wait, I am losing a crewman. Like Kirk's reaction was funny, but Bones
also why would you need to leave?
Yeah, but I think what Bones was saying was like, I think he was kind of being like. But that's Bones. Bones is old-fashioned. Like, that's one of the things. Like,
is he
Bones
thinking she's going to get pregnant?
Well, Bones is an old-fashioned country doctor. And, like, he figures... country doctor. He figures she's going to meet someone, want to get married, go have a family, and, like, be a housewife. Like, I don't think that, like... It was weird. It felt out of place.
Isn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, we did get
that whole conversation was weird.
Yeah, we do get a star date, which I don't think we got a star date in the last episode. But Kirk's captain's there wasn't a captain's log at all in the last episode.
No, there wasn't.
Spock.
Maybe because it's amok. Amok.
Star date 3468. There you go.
Thanks.
Okay.
Not point anything.
There was. I didn't write it down. Oh, 0.1. I thought that was an exclamation point. It's 0.1. So it's 3468.1.
There you go. And then we see this giant hand, which is a field of energy, and it follows the starship around, and suddenly, like, it grabs onto them. They can't move. And, Kirk and Sulu are trying a bunch of maneuvers to try to get out of it. Nothing's working. And a man comes up on the screen, kind of looks like Caesar, and welcomes them. And he says it's been 5,000 years, like, great to see you. So excited. And then mentions, like, Agamemnon and Odysseus and etc. And I'm like, who are you?
Hang on, we've seen this shit before.
And then, he's like, of course, Kirk is like, fuck off, like, get your hand off my ship. and so he ends up, like, clamping down on the ship, and the pressure builds, and so Kirk finally gives in. He's like, you win. And the guy who we find out is Apollo, or
Hammersmith Apollo. Hammersmithian. It's Eddie Izzard stuff.
God. Take a drink, y'all. And he invites them onto the planet, except no Spock, because Spock reminds him of Pan, and Pan bored him.
Okay, yeah. So Look, I wrote this down before it happened, and maybe I remembered it like subconsciously from previous viewings, because I don't have like a lot of these episodes, like I don't have active, because it's been over a decade. I don't have active like memories of them, but I'm like, oh, Caroline replaces McGivers. Watch out! Like whenever there's a random crew woman who beams down to the planet who's a specialist in her field, she's gonna turn on the crew. It just happens.
Which like. It sucks because then it just like plays into these stereotypes of women, which like once again, like you're so progressive with some aspects and other aspects it's like not so much. So
we need a random crewman to do like essentially act like Scotty. I feel like Scotty was out of character in this episode. Like it just
like with him
being
what
like,
makes you say that?
Like, and maybe it's just because it's an aspect of his character we haven't seen, but he seemed like really worried, like overprotective of Caroline. Like she's a crewman on the ship, she should be able to handle herself.
I think it's
she's
Carolyn.
Carolyn, who can make her own. She's an adult who can make her own decisions. And Scotty seems to
welcome
like
to men for you.
Not realize. I don't know. It felt a little weird. Maybe I'm looking or overthinking it, but
who knows? Yeah, I mean, and especially because we didn't see Carolyn before this.
Yeah,
I don't think so, right? So it was another one of those things like we talked about last episode that's kind of just like out of nowhere, but like clearly it seemed like there was a little bit of history between them.
But everyone, male, female, non-binary, other, we all do stupid shit when we're smitten with someone.
Oh yeah,
everybody does. So
100%. And yeah, you tend to be kind of protective over those people for sure. It was just like kind of an excessive way, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know. Anyways, so Kirk, Bones, Scotty, Chekhov, and Carolyn beam down, and Caesar dude is just chilling on the throne. And I noticed his hair kind of almost looked like bluish.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I don't know if it was like
the lighting or the wig.
Yeah, it looked like comic book hair. Like you know, when they highlight people with black hair in comic books, they always use blue to like highlight it. Like that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah,
it definitely looked blue to me too.
It wasn't like a solid blue. Yeah, it was like the light shining on it made it look blue. But yeah, says he's Apollo, and meanwhile Bones is like taking readings of everything. And Apollo says they won't be leaving. Their transporter and communicator don't work. I said it doesn't look like he has nips. I don't know if you noticed. They were either like teeny tiny, or like some of the shots like they look teeny tiny, but then there's other shots I'm like, do you have nips? I can't tell.
I'm looking at a picture of him on Memory Alpha, and I see what you're saying. I think what it is he's
similar
tan
color.
enough. He's tan enough that his skin is the same color as his areolas. So there's just a little piece popping out there of the actual nipple.
Areola 51.
Yeah. Otherwise, he's just that same shade. So
yeah. That makes sense. And then he makes himself big, not in that way. And meanwhile,
makes himself erect.
Yes. Meanwhile, Spock is trying to figure out what the hell is going on down there. And then all of a sudden, Apollo disappears, which, keeps happening throughout the episode. And Kirk wonders if this is really Apollo or this is just some being. And then all of a sudden, Apollo returns to his throne. And then, gets smitten by Carolyn. And, Scotty gets really upset when Apollo wants to make her a god. Once again, a little territorial.
I
And
wrote,
so
Apollo has eyes for Carolyn, of course.
yes, yes. I know. It's like every time they bring a woman or like someone comes on the ship and they see a woman, they're like, oh my God, like it's such a big deal. Which once again, like, why do we need to make that a thing?
It shouldn't be. There's plenty of women on the ship. Like,
well, I mean, like when someone new comes on board, like with
yeah,
like with Charlie X or with
Mud's women.
the Tomorrow is Yesterday, Mud's women,
Yeah.
like when either like women are brought onto the ship or like someone new is brought on the ship that apparently like women aren't used to, wherever they're from, women aren't in positions of power or have jobs or authority or whatever. They're like so shocked by it. Or if they go somewhere and bring a woman crew member with them, they're like, what?
Yeah, I feel like
it seems to be a theme.
I feel like in some ways it's like the people that are either visiting the Enterprise or where the Enterprise goes that are like shocked about like women doing these jobs and being crewmen on the ship is like the audience stand-in, like and them trying to normalize, like,
yeah, but I think pointing it out makes it less normal.
I feel like you should just display it and let it speak for itself rather than going, hey look,
Yeah.
hey
Look at
how
this.
progressive we are, look, hey.
Yeah, it's just like a constant patting on the back. He really likes it. Let's see. Scotty gets upset. Apollo melts his phaser and then changes Carolyn's outfit to this pink gown thing, which looked great. Was not complaining.
There were a couple of notes I had before. I'm like, tape is definitely doing a lot of work holding that dress in place.
Yes. Lots of boob tape.
Must be a fair amount of tape.
Yeah.
I have some notes to tell Scotty to stop thinking with his dick.
Yes.
Apollo has a line. He says, "You seem wise for a woman." I just wrote, "Fuck off."
Yeah. There's I mean, in both last episode and this episode, there was a few lines where I was just like, okay, whatever. Anywho, so then Apollo and Carolyn walk out and disappear, and then Kirk theorizes how gods were just, aliens way back when because, very, what's the word? Not basic, but like, civilization.
Primitive?
Words. Primitive.
Early?
Yeah. Civilization.
Less
so
advanced.
like, yeah, seeing these beings, the magical fruit, they're, would think they're gods because it can't be explained. Which
What's
is, that's an awesome theory and like totally could be real for all we know.
Yeah. The line that, any sufficiently advanced technology we don't understand is indistinguishable from magic. Like, if these people had teleporters and things like that, all the things that it kind of saw it with Tree Lane too, and his device behind the mirror. Like, it seems like magic, but it's just highly advanced technology.
Yeah. Exactly. Which, yeah, I like never would have thought of that. And then Sulu picks up radiation coming from the planet, and Apollo and Carolyn, they talk about how other gods have returned to the wind, and he wants to take her as his wife, and they make out. Because of course.
Of course.
Zero surprise there. And then on the ground, they also think that Apollo is using a source of power, and Bones says that he has an extra organ in his chest that he can't figure out, which is interesting. And then Apollo, sorry, okay, yeah. Apollo comes back without Carolyn, and Scotty tries to attack, and Apollo lightnings him down, chokes out Kirk, and then Apollo disappears again. Take a drink every time Apollo disappears.
Yeah, but there was something different about the disappearance this time.
Oh, I don't know.
Didn't you hear Chekhov pointed it out?
Oh, yeah, that's my next note.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant literally about his disappearance.
Oh, no. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Chekhov notices how Apollo seems tired when he disappeared. And so, these using his powers drains him, and so he needs to stop. And so Kirk is like, we should overwork him then. Meanwhile, up on the ship, Uhura is fixing the system.
Which was awesome to see, like, Uhura in the trenches working, like, getting her hands dirty, doing the technical labor. And Spock being cool. Like, there's nobody else who can do it.
Yeah. I like that moment.
That is the better way to show what we were talking about, rather than
yes.
Look at how progressive we are.
Yeah, exactly. The patting on the self-patting on the back. And yeah, Spock thinks they should punch some holes through the shield to shoot through, because they can't get rid of all of it. And Apollo and Carolyn return. Kirk refuses his orders, and then all of a sudden Kirk and the crew start laughing and heckling him, and Carolyn then intervenes because of course.
God damn it, Carolyn.
Yeah, which, I mean, ends up kind of saving them in a way, even though, like, it kind of ruined the plan, because Apollo said that he'll be lenient for Carolyn's sake. And, but then says, like, the rest of their people are going to need to beam down, and then he'll destroy their ship. And Apollo tells Carolyn she'll be a mother of gods. And she goes back to the boys, and she says how Apollo wants them to live in peace. And Kirk is like, you need to reject him. Like, yeah, you need to stop this. You're the only one that can do this. You got to help us out here. And she's like, I'm in love with him. Which, once again, of course.
It's been like 3 hours, dude. He is a god, though.
Every time.
And I have to say, dude's fit. And
yeah, he's jacked.
Yeah, so there's that.
Yeah.
Can't say I don't know about love, but I don't blame her.
Yeah. Lust, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then Kirk says they're human, they need to stick together to try to convince Carolyn. And Uhura is able to communicate with Kirk finally. Spock finds where power originates from and communicates down to him, and says it comes from the structure near them. And Kirk says to have a phaser destroy the structure. And then that's when Carolyn turns on Apollo, and she's like, I'm a scientist. I've been studying you. I don't love you. I couldn't love you more than bacteria.
Yeah, I don't know if this was genuine or if this was her just like, because this was one thing, and maybe I'm thinking of it too much, but like, because Kirk said to her, like, you have your orders, and then Apollo later was like, I order you, and it's like, I would have liked her to have a solution where she didn't follow anybody's orders, like she had her own agency, and like,
yeah,
either way,
found like a middle ground, maybe.
Yeah, she's still following someone's orders rather than, I mean, I guess she's making her own decision on whose orders to follow, but I still didn't like, I order you to do this, and I don't know. Totally. I'm overthinking it because she is a lieutenant in service, like with a oath and a duty to Starfleet, so like she should follow Kirk's orders because that's her fucking job, duty.
We're 12. Yeah. I it seemed also like her acting with it didn't seem like it was hard for her to say those things. Like if she really did love him, then like I feel like there would have been a little bit of acting where it seemed like it was hard for her to say these things, but also acting back then was not as good as it is now. And let's see, where was I? Yes, couldn't love him if he was like more than bacteria. Walks away from him. He conjures this big storm. And that's when Kirk tells Spock to fire the phasers. Apollo tries to stop them. And at this point, I'm like, I'm guessing you can have your shields up and fire the phasers at the same time.
Oh, yeah, you can do that. You can't shields. You can't use the transporter through shields.
That's right. We talked about this. Yeah, that's right. Temple is destroyed. Apollo cries out and says he would have cared for them, etc. And he gets big and calls out to the other gods. Says time has passed. There is no room for gods. Tells them to take him. He disappears, and Kirk and Bones say they both hated doing that. What if they just had gathered laurel leaves? And I was like, what? Like, he would have been okay doing that?
Hey, I mean, I think they would, in the sense of like, oh, maybe we should have just humored him for a little bit. Like,
yeah.
Make him feel like a god again, like, before.
It seemed like it was similar to the Jizz Flowers planet, where like it would have been peaceful.
Yeah.
And so that's the angle they were going for. Like, oh, this might have been nice for a bit to like live in peace. But also I'm like, you would have trusted him to like actually fulfill that promise, even though you barely know him. And so I don't know, you hated doing that because of that reason. I don't know. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Very confusing. Anyways, that's all I got.
Yeah, it's that like, yeah, you'd be taken care of and like life would be peaceful and you would have want of nothing, but you'd be subservient and would you really have your freedom? Exactly.
Yeah, you'd still have to bow to someone, essentially. Or literally. Yeah. Should we do some lines and moments?
Yeah.
I mean, even though I feel like it wasn't acted properly, I did like the scene where Carolyn turns on Apollo, especially her bacteria line. That was great. It reminded me of like when people say like, would you love me if I was a worm? Oh yeah, and then frickin' Apollo's line, you seem wise for a woman. I was just like, bleh. Yeah, like you mentioned.
Not a favorite line or moment, but a notable one.
Yeah, a notable one, exactly. I'm trying to think of I don't think I have any other lines, but I'm trying to think of other moments.
I liked when they beamed down since Spock wasn't there, McCoy was like, to coin a phrase, fascinating.
Yes. That was good. That was a good one. Any other moments or lines?
Well, when he says, I'm Apollo, and Chekhov's like, and I'm Tsar of all the Russias.
Yeah.
Notable is there's one that Apollo is talking about gods, and Kirk says something to the effect of we find the one quite adequate.
Yeah, he does.
I was like, that's an odd. Yeah, mankind has no need for gods. We find the one quite adequate. And I was like, you probably should just like, from what I've seen before, like stopping after mankind has no need for gods is, but I mean, maybe they didn't want to go, too atheist agnostic in the 1960s on television.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely not something that recurs.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, clearly there's already a lot of religions in the world. Yeah. And to just I don't know. I just
Yeah, because
unnecessary.
I mean, even like, isn't it
Right.
Hinduism has like thousands of gods, like hundreds of thousands of gods?
Yes, I believe so. I took
Yeah.
world religions in high school. I remember something. I just know there's other gods in general, and yeah, some religions have more than one god. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. Polytheism versus
Yeah,
monotheism.
exactly.
Anyway, so if that's it for lines and moments, that'll bring us to
Yep.
That's What They Said.
Woot woot. All right, these are your That's What They Said for Season 2, Episode 2, Who Mourns for Adonais, aka TOS Episode 31. I'm not sure I like that, Jim.
Hard about.
It's almost as if it means to grab us.
Full impulse power. Forward and back.
Applying thrust, sir.
There doesn't seem to be anything to push against.
I am pleased.
You will worship me.
Very impressive.
I'm tingling all over.
Chekhov, give me a hand.
Please, proceed.
I think we can try it now, sir.
Yay!
Those are your That's What They Said for this episode.
Always a fun time.
Indeed. Indeed.
So that will bring us to episode trivia from Memory Alpha. Apollo's temple was constructed on an indoor studio set. Aside, by the way, I was thinking, but I have this in my notes, I forgot to say it. I feel like, and maybe this was super impressive for the time, I feel like the temple destruction could have been a lot more impressive rather than just blinking out of existence. Like,
yeah,
the phasers firing from the ship were like this big on the screen. Like they should have been massive, like enveloped the temple, and it just boom. And we've seen some explosions and stuff before. Like there was lots of pyrotechnics last season in Arena when they beamed down and they were getting barraged. But I would have liked to have seen some explosions and the temple fall apart rather than it just
boom.
Just getting different colors, because I think the phasers were like heating the material up, and then it was just me. Anyway,
solid.
Apollo's temple was constructed on an indoor studio set. Swaying trees, courtesy of hidden stage hands, and dubbed-in bird sounds were combined with stock footage of an outdoor lake and adequately conveyed the illusion of being outdoors. I was wondering, because the trees did look like they were moving in the breeze. I'm like, are they shooting outside? Where are they at? But apparently it's stage hands that are just like making the trees shake.
Wait, that's so funny. I didn't even notice that. I could tell it was an indoor stage, obviously, but still, I didn't notice the swaying trees.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
And there's such a small thing in the background, like if they weren't moving, like I don't think it would really make a big deal. But I don't know. Leslie Parrish, who played Carolyn,
Get it right.
wore the famous Bill Thies dress again in another Desilu Paramount show, a 1968 episode of Mannix titled The Girl in the Frame. So same actress, same pink dress, different show.
I mean, it's a great dress, so might as well get some use out of it.
Yeah. In the original script, the gods and other mythological figures were mentioned by their Latin/Roman names. But in the revised final draft and the finished episode, they are called by their original Greek equivalents, possibly at the suggestion of series researcher, I can talk, I promise, Kellum DeForest. The one exception to this is Hercules, whose name would be Heracles in Greek, which is one of those things that, like, it's one of the things that popular culture does too. Like, by default, we generally refer to them by their Greek names.
Yeah. And I also get the Greek and Roman gods confused because they're so fucking similar.
Well, they basically are the same.
They're same thing. They're the same thing.
Because the Romans conquered the Greeks, and they're like, oh, you've got these gods. Thank God you've got some gods. We've got Jeff, the god of biscuits, and Nathan, the god of hairdos. That's, again...
God of hairdos!
I can't take credit for that. That's an Eddie Izzard bit.
Oh my God. Take a drink, y'all.
It's very topical. But Hercules is one that he's never referred to in popular culture as Heracles. He's always called Hercules. Mm-hmm. But
I'm sure the movie, added to that as well.
Yeah. Well, and Hercules, the Legendary Journeys, the Kevin Sorbo show. Like, there's Hercules in that, but everybody else, from what I remember, was the Greek names.
I've never even heard of that.
You've never... What about Xena, Warrior Princess?
I didn't know that was related to Hercules.
Yeah, they're like... It was an very early, like, lightly connected cinematic universe. There were crossovers between the two shows. Yeah. Yeah, so that was interesting. Jason Alexander cites this episode as his favorite of the original series.
Wait, Jason Alexander.
Exactly who you're thinking of. Yep. He's a pretty big Star Trek fan from what I remember.
I mean, that checks out. Considering
but he cites this as his favorite episode of the original series, describing it as thought-provoking, beautiful, and very sad.
Okay.
Leslie Parrish, who played Carolyn, stated, "Whenever I watch it, I go right back to the whole thing again and cry my way through it. I relive it. My impression of it is that it's one piece of work that I am very proud of. Of all the work I did, this is outstanding because it is rooted in something which I believe so deeply." Quoi?
No thoughts.
Clearly,
she had no thoughts either.
It's like, I don't know. I don't
weird.
Like, yeah.
Very weird.
That's all I've got.
So for Jason Alexander's, I would say the thought-provoking in terms of the whole, like what Kirk said with, them being gods but not actually gods, and that might have some truth to it. Like, that is thought-provoking for sure.
Yeah, I can see that. That and the very sad part being like a person or a being who is, a provider who has outlived their usefulness, essentially. Like, Apollo has nowhere left to go except to cease to exist, essentially. I don't know what.
And maybe sad in terms of the love story.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I just I don't get it, but to each their own. That's fine. And it's like, it's one of those things where, I don't know, I think watching it back then or just watching it a while ago, even if it wasn't when it aired, even just like 20 years ago, like, may have like a different effect on people than it does now. And yeah, to like, different things mean different things to different people. And some people have a more emotional response to certain things. So I won't discredit that or anything. I guess that's the right term. Yeah. To each their own.
Exactly. Yeah.
TLDR, to each their own.
Yeah, I don't see it, but I'm not going to say it's not there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's like inklings of that, but these seem like very strong opinions, and I think we both just don't have those strong opinions, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
All right. Well, that'll bring us to spoilers without context.
Ooh, yeah.
So, Ensign Kayla, you went first with spoilers last time, so I will go first. We'll bring my spoilers without context up on the screen.
Dear God, these are so similar. I just saw yours.
I had to use the hand on the ship. I obviously thought Master Hand from Super Smash Brothers, like the boss of that game, so I had to use the Master Hand. I used Pan, an image of Pan, because
Spock was like Pan.
Yeah, Spock apparently was like Pan. That's supposed to be Mount Olympus.
Okay, I figured that was Olympus.
And then the Toga Party from Animal House. Toga. Never been to a Toga Party. I don't know why they're supposed to be so popular. I think it's just an excuse for people to party scantily clad.
It is.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
college.
Yeah. Oh, so Jesus. Those are mine. I'll bring Ensign Kayla's up on the screen.
Yeah, very, very fucking similar. I literally was like, what are things that have giant hands in them? And I searched giant hands, and then I was like, oh wait, like Eternals, wasn't there, like, in that Frozen image, like, isn't there a hand in it? And yes, there was. So I was like, that is perfect, because that is iconic, because everyone's like, what happened to that? Like, is there not a celestial embedded in Earth anymore? And then I just searched Apollo, and that was a picture of Apollo that came up. And then I just did some Greek ruins, which thank you, Johnny, for helping me with that one, because I was really struggling to think of things for this episode. And then Hercules and all the gods around him. And yeah, that was it. And that's not very exciting. I struggled with this episode, but
yeah, I did too.
Is what it is.
Yeah, there was. I mean, we got there. We each got there.
There wasn't much to go off of.
I kind of like your Eternals hand more than Master Hand from Smash Brothers, but they're both basically the same thing.
They're both, hands.
They get the point across.
Yes, literally.
Hey. All right, that'll bring us to ranking the episode. Ensign Kayla, how do you rank Who Mourns? For
apologies to Jason Alexander. Oh, what, you want to give your opinion? What's your opinion? What do you think? He says Ensign.
Okay.
And I'm gonna have to agree with him, right? Yeah. He says this was inconsequential, not very exciting, a lot of repeat things happening. Just kind of like how what's that one episode we both hated at the end of season 1 with the alternate universe,
the alternate
fighting
factor?
himself.
Yeah, that episode was garbage.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of that, with a lot of the like repeat things, like he's constantly disappearing and reappearing, and then of course like she falls in love with him, and I'm just like eh. And like, I don't know, just like wasn't that exciting. I will say I did like the concept, like we've talked about several times now, with, you know, these gods were just beings or aliens, and, you know, people just thought they were gods because they weren't that advanced yet to like think that they were, you know, from other galaxies, planets, etc.
And there's an aspect, I think, of the advanced incorporeal being that we've seen a lot, because Apollo just vanishes. He said Hera essentially did the same thing. She just like spread herself to the wind. Because also, if it is, this dude's been around for over 5,000 years. He's lived a long ass time. Yeah.
Ultimately, I was just like, you don't need to watch it. Like, it's pretty forgettable, I will say. I don't know. Like, besides the thought-provokingness of that, I don't know. There's not much else to it. And it's, like, very similar to some of the other tropes we've already seen. Okay, I will pet you.
Yeah, I keep having flashbacks to Shore Leave. Like, they're very different, but also quite similar. And that might just, like, part of it is just that we have a crew woman who goes down on the planet and gets put in a dress. Like, the yeoman from Shore Leave ends up in the princess costume, and Carolyn here ends up in that pink toga. Is it supposed to be a toga of some sort? Like,
yeah, it kind of is a toga.
Because it has to be tape, because there's no, like, tie. It just, like, goes over her boobs, drapes over the shoulder and down.
It's definitely
like,
taped, Johnny.
Definitely tape. Which they didn't have.
You're slightly obsessed.
In Greek times. It just seems a little bit of...
No. There was probably a lot of nip slips in Greek times, let's be honest.
I think they also didn't care. Like,
yeah,
they probably just had one boob hanging out all the time.
Yeah, the freaking Olympics, they were all naked.
Yeah.
They didn't give a dick.
Yeah.
Literally. Or actually they did.
Many.
Yeah. Would have loved to watch that.
I don't know.
Anyways,
there's got to be. I mean, there's got to be some sort of naked competition out there. If you really want, you can find. I'm sure.
I mean, Naked and Afraid, but they blur.
They blur everything. That's not nearly as fun.
No, it's not. So, what do you rank it?
Oh yeah, I was getting ready to go. The next episode is. I'm gonna be a little more generous with this episode, I think, and say Lieutenant. Still, like you said, everything you said holds true. It's inconsequential.
I almost did Lieutenant to be nice, but
I think it's worth watching at least once. So, like, I'm not upset that we. Yeah, I'm not upset that we watched it. I thought I was invested and entertained the whole time.
It wasn't like alternative factor. Like, I didn't hate it in that regard.
I mean, if we were doing more, it would probably be equivalent to like Lieutenant Junior grade, which is between ensign and lieutenant. But I like it enough and was entertained enough to say lieutenant. But still, again, lieutenant is like, if you have time, don't make time to watch this episode. If you have time, this is an episode to watch. But if you don't watch it, you're not missing anything.
Exactly.
So, all right, that'll bring us to the next episode. Episode 32, season 2, episode 3. We got to figure out what this is. Just episode 32, The Changeling.
Okay. I like it the other way, but okay.
A powerful,
because people are gonna think it's episode 32 of season 1 if you say that.
The reason that I keep going with that is because every time it's been talked about, it's very, I've heard it a lot. 79 episodes of the original series. There's 79 episodes. There's 79 episodes. So it feels like we're counting down to hit 79. And that's why I keep saying 30, like 31 and 32. Because they don't. I never hear anybody say, "Oh, there's 3 seasons of the original series." There's 3 seasons of the original series. There's 79 episodes. I don't know why they say it like that, but that's how throughout history, I've always heard it. 79 episodes of the original series. The later ones, like TNG, Voyager, they have 7 seasons, 7 seasons, 7 seasons, 7 seasons. But TOS, anytime I hear it talked about, it's there's 79 episodes. I could understand it more if it was 69 episodes, because 69 is 69. But 79 episodes. Yeah. So.
Interesting.
Anyway.
I guess. Anyways.
We can do a thing like we do with, like, here I'm going to read IMDb, and when we cover it, I'll read TV Guide. So we'll refer to it as episode 32 in one place and season 2, episode 3 in another. And then we'll cover all our bases. That's not going to be
confusing at all.
Anyway, the Changeling, a powerful, artificially intelligent Earth probe with a murderously twisted imperative comes aboard the Enterprise and mistakes Captain Kirk for its creator. It doesn't sound like it involves a changeling, as we think when we think of changelings. Sounds like it involves
Yeah.
a murderous artificial intelligence.
Murder.
Murder.
Yeah. Very interesting that it's AI too, considering all the shit with AI right now. Well, sounds like an interesting one. Excited to talk about it. And yeah, this is a fun discussion. Hope everyone enjoyed chatting about it with us in the chat. Oh, okay, we're finishing up. Don't worry. And yeah, if you're watching on the replay, thanks for watching. Make sure to smack that like, smack that subscribe if you haven't already. Smack the bell icon so you can get notifications of when our streams go live. And yeah, I think at this point there's gonna be one more episode of Stranger Things. Yeah, next week. And then
Yes.
yeah, and then yeah, we'll be covering Motu Revelation Watch Rewatch. Yes, sir.
Oh, if you're watching this live, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa Yulmas, because
Happy Festivus for the rest of us.
Yes. Whatever denominational holiday you celebrate. Hope it's a good
you don't celebrate anything. I hope it's a good one. I know this is a very hard time of year for a lot of people, for a lot of different reasons. Also, seasonal depression is a big thing right now. Hang in there, and we'll all get through this together, because, dear God, same. And yeah, just sending lots of love and hugs to everyone who need it right now. And yeah, it's hard, especially when so many people, like, I love the holidays, still hard for me though at the same time. And it's hard when so many people are so, like, joyful and happy about it, and you're not, and that's hard, and we get it. And so yeah, just glad everyone's here. We'll get through it together, and it's better on the other side. And go to therapy.
Wise words, Ensign Kayla.
Yes. And if you want to follow us, you can follow us at GTFO channel on all the socials. Someone is getting very impatient with me. If you want to email us, our email is channelgtfo@gmail.com. And yeah, lots of fun things coming up. Yeah, once again, thanks everyone for being here with us. It has been a blast. Excited to get more into the second season of TOS, and or into the 30s, as Jonathan is calling it. Why did I say Jonathan?
I don't know, because that's not my name.
Johnny. I know it's not your name. I think because I wanted it to be formal sounding, probably. But yeah. Thanks everyone. Until next time, peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.
Bye.